Hey guys, and welcome to She Meets City. If you are new here, my name is Sheena and I'm a digital content creator, Etsy shop owner, and illustrator based out of New York City. So as you guys can tell by the title below, we'll be covering how I make money as a freelancer because I feel like enough people are not talking about this, and my channel is all about being transparent and empowering you guys to go out and chase your dreams too. So if you are not subscribed, you can go ahead and do that below. If this video is helpful at all, be sure to give me a thumbs up to let me know, and let's go ahead and jump in. So whenever I hear people talking about freelancing, I feel like it is essential to talk about what you did prior because it just humanizes the whole experience, right? So I worked retail, like clothing retail, all of that, from the day that I was legally allowed to work. So just to be transparent with you, I will be 30 in about a month, and I've been working since I was 15 years old. And when I started out, I was going to go into the food industry just like everyone else does, you know, being a hostess or a waiter or whatever. I was actually thrown into the clothing retail industry. So I spent a bulk of my years doing a bit of that, you know, from being a key holder, just a plain old associate, and then all the way to being a co-manager of a store and leading a team. And so that was really good while it lasted, but there was just not good pay in clothing retail. It just doesn't exist. And so you kind of become stagnant. So I left that industry because I've always been interested in technology. I had to have the latest Game Boy and iPod, so it just worked. I actually became a certified Apple technician, which was great. And yes, I can fix Macs, phones, all of that. Whatever you're thinking, I can do. And that was great. But of course, I'm always looking for the next thing. So when I moved back to New York a handful of years ago, I decided to go into IT and like IT management. So just from working really hard and going after opportunities, I was able to become an IT manager. And that's what I had been doing the whole time that I've been living here. So roughly a year ago, I was an IT manager. I was still doing YouTube part-time, and I had not considered owning an Etsy shop or doing anything like that because my full-time job took up a lot of my time. Last year, I started to work for a company. I was their IT manager director, and I learned a lot of things there, but then I specifically learned the type of person that I was, and I was not the type of person willing to deal with the political bullshit that happens in work environments, especially being a woman of color. And so I just had to let that go and be true to myself. So as I was doing the job, I was also researching on how to get out of there entirely and basically start to freelance and be more of a creative. So I talked to the other half and I let him know what my plans were, and we both started to tuck away money to the side to kind of get me ready for that decision to leave my 9-to-5. And just to be fully transparent with you guys, I was so comfortable as far as having job stability and a really strong salary. I was making over 6 figures a year, which means I had a very comfortable lifestyle and I really couldn't want for anything else. But I had to just stop myself and really say, Sheena, is it about this money and being able to say, oh, look at me, I make 6 figures? Or would you prefer to be happy and really genuinely happy? Not just saying, yeah, I'm happy with my job, which is what a lot of us do. So when it came down to it, I just wasn't for the IT industry. And so I decided to quit my job back in July of 2018. And when I decided to quit, my boss, my CTO, basically let me know that she needed me to stay on contract just to kind of help transition in a new team. And so I was able to stay on contract with that company until about October of 2018. So that gave me more than enough time to figure out what I was doing, to try to reach out and get some clientele, and to also keep tucking money into my savings so that I could pay my half of my bills. So at the end of October, I quit that job and I went fully freelance. Now, when it comes to how I made money and how I, kind of kept my lifestyle going, again, I have been saving, and I do have someone else that I live with, and so he's able to take on a little bit of the extra bills. But overall, we were doing okay. So I knew that I had to develop multiple streams of income or we'd basically end up homeless. And so this video is breaking down what those different streams of income looks like, how I got there, and hopefully it can give you a bit of insight and help you out if you're trying to go freelance. So I decided to do a really quick pie chart, just basically showing the breakdown of how I make money as a freelancer. And this is what it looks like. And is this what I expected it to look like? No. I totally was like, oh, I'm going to quit this job and go be a freelance video editor. I'm going to edit video for Vice and Refinery 29 and Bustle, and that's just not how it worked out. It's not. And I applied for those roles and I really went after them, but the universe just wasn't aligning in that way, and I ended up doing more creative work like illustration and opening an Etsy shop, and so that's just where things ended up. This is not what I chose necessarily. So now that you guys have kind of seen the percentages, let's break down each one of how I make that money and what that looks like for my day-to-day. 40% of my income comes from client work, and that can be a range of things, but I'll just quickly list them out for you guys. I do illustrations, I do brand logos, I also do a bit of social media management, and I'm primarily working with a studio here in New York called Vistoria Studios. Be sure to follow us on social media, and I'm so excited to be working with these guys. They're actually my friends, and they reached out to me, and it felt like the right opportunity. And I've also done a bit of site building on the side because I've always been one of those people to have like a live journal or a Zanga. So I always knew how to build websites, and a client reached out to me and asked me to help her out with her site launch, and I was able to help her get that up and running. And so that was one of my first real jobs going freelance. Now, I'm sure the next question is like, Sheena, where do you get these clients from? How do you go from like IT 9 to 5 all up in the technical world now to acquiring these clients who want illustrations and brands and logos? And I'll discuss that probably in another video in more detail, but it's all about having an audience and really engaging with them and explaining what you do and your services. And sometimes those referrals just come, and it's also about putting yourself out there, but we'll cover a bit more of that later. Now, the second way I make money, and a good 30% of my income comes from sponsor and brand work. So I'm sure if you guys have been on this channel for a while, you've seen that I have done a few sponsorships here and there. And when I say few, is because it's literally like 3 or 4 companies. I'm not out here putting out sponsored videos every week because I just don't have that many sponsors reaching out to me. And one main sponsor that I've worked with that reached out to me over a year ago, and we have a great relationship, is Skillshare. They have always reached out and signed multiple video deals with me, and because I use their platform, I kept signing their contracts. That's basically what sponsor work looks like. So if most of you are avid YouTube watchers and you like to be on Instagram, then you've seen the, hashtag promotion, hashtag sponsored ad. That just means that a brand or a sponsor reach out to an influencer to get them to speak about their services, their product, things like that. Now, one thing I do want to make crystal clear is that I do not think brand sponsorships should be your main source of income, because what I personally seen happen is that YouTubers and even a few Instagrammers, they become desperate because at the end of the day, we all have bills to pay. Some of us even have children out here who depend on us. And when you have a sponsor reaching out and saying, sell this flat tummy tea or sell these gummies, you're probably going to do it because you want to pay your bills. But that is something that I'm not willing to do. I feel like my moral compass will not let me push a brand or product that I truly do not believe in. And in my personal opinion, that really affects those people in the long term because they're not consistent. So how do you expect to have followers who believe in you and believe in what you do, and you're super wishy-washy? You're doing something different every single week. So personally, I do not take on all brand deals that I get because I do not believe in all brands that reach out to me. It's just what it is. So could I be bringing in more money doing these brand deals and sponsor teas? Sure, but that's not what I want to do. So I'm willing to not depend on this particular stream of income because once you become dependent, you'll do whatever it takes, and that's the dangerous part. Now, one thing that I am trying to work on in 2019 is actually cold calling or reaching out to more of these sponsors and not waiting for them to find me. And this is something that I think is so important if you're really trying to be an influencer, is you have to reach out. You have to let these brands know that you're here. It's not that you're not talented, it's that this market is heavily saturated and you have to put yourself out there. It's just what it is. So I will probably do another video or document what that looks like for me, like making a media kit and reaching out to brands. But for right now, I'm just being honest, I haven't reached out to brands. If you guys see any brand work or sponsors, it's because they've somehow found me and were willing to give me the opportunity. And the third way that I make money, which is about like 15 to 20% of my income, is through Etsy. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, this is what your channel is all about. You do Etsy. But Etsy can fluctuate, and it all depends on what your audience is looking for and how you market the product. So if you guys were watching me in December of 2018 through my Vlogmas series, and you know almost every single video I uploaded was targeted towards this Etsy shop. And it's because I knew in the back of my mind that I had to just get it done. I had to open another stream of income, and I just couldn't be dependent on just waiting on clients or waiting on brand sponsorships. Like, the bills don't wait on me, you know what I mean? I decided to open up this shop, and because I was talking it up and showing my process, and it had been an entire month leading up to the launch, I had a very good launch. I had a lot of sales. But now that that launch has happened in December and we're now in March, sales have dwindled, and that's normal and that's okay. But I just want to remind you guys that if you're not selling super high margin product and you don't have a really focused audience, you're not going to be able to make your full income off of Etsy. So someone like me who has a shop full of stickers, which is basically paper with ink on it, is not going to bring in as much profit as someone who's selling like leather purses or vintage lamps. You know what I mean? If you're wanting to freelance and truly depend on Etsy, try to find a higher margin product that's going to bring you in real money and build up that audience somehow. So that's from doing Instagram posts to having a YouTube video, maybe a podcast, so that people know that your product is coming out. So the reason why I say Etsy is like my third source and it only brings me in about 15% is because it fluctuates. And some months are really good and some months are like, But that also depends on how much product you're putting out and if your audience is interested in it. And that, unfortunately, is not always in your control. So just be wary of that. But that's how I make money through Etsy. And the fourth way that I make money, which is like 10%, if not less, is AdSense. And AdSense, long story short, is if you watch a video on YouTube and you see an ad come up, a commercial, as people say, that is what AdSense is. So that's put into the video, and if you guys watch it or click through it or whatever, I make a tiny commission off of that. And I feel like when people say that on YouTube, people are like, whatever, tiny commission my ass. No, really, I make nickels and pennies, you guys. I do not depend on AdSense. If I did, I'd be homeless. I'd be in the subway shaking a can of coins, and that's just what it is. You cannot depend on AdSense. It is so small. And because YouTube is a platform, they take a portion of that, a large portion. I want to say it's like 60%, because they are hosting your video on their platform. So I would not depend on AdSense, especially as a small channel. You're just not going to see the return that you're expecting. So to really make money off of AdSense, you have to be one of these larger YouTube channels, like 2.5 million, with unskippable ads and hundreds of videos, because as people find your channel, they usually begin to click through all the rest of your videos. They get clicks, they get views, which means that you get ad revenue. And again, that can be an entirely different video, but I just turn on my AdSense because it's kind of like, why not? Every YouTube video that I do that a brand is not sponsorship, I do for zip, zero, nix, nothing. So imagine putting in 14 plus hours into a video and you're not being paid for it. That is why influencers will turn on AdSense, and that's basically what it does. So right now, because my AdSense is so little, I basically don't even look at that account or that money. I just let it pile up to whatever it is, a couple of pennies or dollars that they are, and that can be fun money, or if it adds up, it can buy me new equipment. But I 100% do not look at or depend on my AdSense, and I don't think you should either. And then the last category, which is like 10% or less or none at all, is just doing other miscellaneous things. This can be little one-off tasks for people that don't fall under illustrating or creating a brand. It can be selling items on Depop or on OfferUp that you don't need anymore. You know, you got to have that hustle. And also from the largest category, which is affiliate links. And again, quick educational moment. If you've ever gone to someone's video and they say, oh, click below, and the link looks funky, like it looks like it was made to look that way, is because it's an affiliate link. So all that means is that I have a specialty link that says if someone clicks on this and they make a purchase, I make a small kickback. And just like AdSense, we're talking pennies, you guys. pennies. So if I say, oh, I'm using this Canon, M50, and I link it below, and one of you choose to buy it, I'm literally making a couple cents or a couple dollars because you chose to buy it. So I know there can be a lot of stigma around affiliate links and people feel a type of way, but at the end of the day, the less than 1% that the influencer is making off of that is nothing. It's like people are willing to give all their money to Canon, like, oh, whatever, take my coins. But then God forbid, someone who sits down and truly gives them advice and tries to help them wants to make 50 cents off of that. It's the end of the world. We have to change our mindset around supporting each other, because we're all about supporting these bigger brands who mark up their products quite high and make a lot of money off of us, but we're not willing to help each other. So just keep that in mind. And if you see an affiliate link in one of my description areas, thank you so much for clicking on it and shopping on it, because that does help me. So that's about everything, but I wanted to tack on a few little extras to help wrap up this video and hopefully answer some of the questions that you guys may have below. So one of the questions that I know I'm going to see is like, well, how do I get clients? And at the end of the day, this is something that nobody ever wants to say, and I don't know why, because it is the truth, and it's you have to have an audience. No one knows who you are. Like, this is a huge planet. There is 8 billion of us. You have to understand that you have to put yourself out there for people to know and see what you do. And for me, my audience, my platform is right here. It is YouTube, and I've been on YouTube for probably 7 years. And because I just started to be really consistent and take it seriously and really engage with my audience, I'm now teetering towards 30K, and that's really good for a micro influencer like me. So you have to just build up an audience wherever you feel comfortable. I'm comfortable creating videos, being in front of a camera, editing, so I do this. But maybe you don't want to be in front of a camera. Do a podcast, do a blog, find some way to help people. And what I personally notice is that influencers usually will not start pitching their brand or product or services until they've really helped their community. And for those of you that have been around for some time, you know that 95% of my videos that aren't like vlogs or little fun videos are here to help you. I've recommended product. I've recommended different sites that I've tried. I've shown you my Etsy process inside and out. And even in my last Etsy video, I've gotten so many comments about wow, this truly helped me. So because I'm so willing to help for free, a lot of those people end up coming back to work with me or to consult with me because there's that trust there. You trust that person. So you can't expect to be on Instagram and not engage with anyone, not help anyone, but then throw up a post and say, I'm freelancing, work with me, because no one is going to. There has to be a transaction there. And my transaction is that I provide a lot of help and advice and insight for free. And so people in turn will come back and return that favor. And in my journey, that's basically been through referrals, through word of mouth. I was literally on Instagram and I posted one boomerang of me doing an illustration for someone, and I got a DM from a photographer who put me on to a client who wanted 4 illustrations done. And to this day, that is one of my largest projects that has paid me the most, and I'm so grateful for that. But that's because that person followed me and had belief in me, and I had somehow empowered her or inspired her, and so she remembered my name and referred me. And so above all, just be loyal to your audience and really help them out, and be willing to give without receiving for quite some time. I've done it for almost 7 years, so doing it for a few months or a few days is not going to kill you. Build up that audience and they will help to build you up. And the next quick tip is to not quit without knowing the precautions of doing that. When you leave a full-time job, you are leaving stability, you are leaving a consistent paycheck, and you are leaving your health benefits. And so many people do not think about this. We all watch these shows where it's I quit, and throw your shit on the desk and walk out. And that's not how the real world works. You walk out and quit your job, you are SOL, and you cannot get unemployment if you quit a job. It's only if you are fired or laid off. So be really careful with that, because once you quit, you're really on your own. Now, luckily I have a spouse, so I'm able to share expenses with him, and I'm also able to tack myself onto his insurance. So my life is a lot easier than being on my own. But if I were on my own, there is a possibility that I would not have quit my job. I probably would have hunkered down for a little longer because I have nothing to fall back on. So just be really, really careful about that. And even if you have a family member or a spouse to lean on, try not to lean on them too much, because this was your decision, not theirs. And while they are here to support you, you should not be dependent on anyone in this lifetime if you can. And then to just wrap everything up, I wanted to put it out there that I'm considering making a Patreon. I've seen so many different people do it, and I've realized that all it is like a focus group of people who want a little bit more out of you. So maybe you're looking to really hone in on your Etsy store, and you want more of like undivided attention and more frequent uploads and, you know, newsletters, and that's what a Patreon can provide. So I'm thinking about starting one, but I want to know what you guys think and how you would feel. I would try to have multiple tiers, but I want to offer things like tangible product that I can physically ship out to you guys, like extra stickers and freebies and things like that. I was also thinking about digital downloads, so printables and downloads that you guys can actually use on your own without having to wait on something in the mail or wait on shipping, and also more sit down, in-depth Q&As for those of you who are maybe trying to go freelance or open your Etsy shop or get on YouTube or whatever it may be. But I think it would be a good idea. So let me know your thoughts below in the comments area, and if you would like to be a part of a Patreon, and I will consider like jump starting that and getting into the beginning stages of actually rolling it out. And of course, I gotta end the video with a small plug. So if you guys are looking for an illustrator, video editor, or someone to help you get your social media just up to par, my email is always below. It's hello@shemeetcity.com. Feel free to email me with any questions. I always respond to emails. If you're someone that has reached out to me or worked with me before, then you know this to be true. I always respond. That's it, guys. I really hope this video was helpful. If there's another topic that you would like for me to cover, be sure to comment below and give me your ideas. And I really appreciate you guys so much, especially all the love on the last video. I was literally overwhelmed because I cannot believe how many people actually found that video helpful, and that just made my heart so happy. That's it. This is your girl signing off, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.